Welcome to the Natural Visionaries, the podcast where we redefine success in motherhood and in business through faith, purpose, and community. I'm Anna Bordner. I'm a mom, I'm an engineer, I'm an entrepreneur, and a firm believer that God has uniquely called us to create a life that aligns with His vision, not the world's expectations. Here, we have honest conversations with moms who are building businesses, raising families, and living out their purpose as visionaries, making an impact. So if you're ready to embrace a life of faith, freedom, and fulfillment, you're in the right place. Hi, Betsy. Welcome to the Natural Visionaries Podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here. Okay, so you are guest numero uno, and this is really interesting because I haven't used this whole system yet, so we're just gonna wing it through this podcast. Betsy and I have known each other since middle school. We were in band together. And I saw this reel or meme or whatever that the other day on Instagram, and it was like, if you still have a friend from 7th grade, like, that's solid.
It really is solid.
You know what? I do still have like a solid friend from 7th grade, and it's Betsy. And here we are talking. And I wanted to have you on because I think you are one of the smartest people I know. You are so giving and so thoughtful and so helpful in how you show up, not only as a friend, but on Instagram and in your business and with your children, with homeschooling, which I didn't even have a note on here to talk about homeschooling, but we totally should.
I do mention it. Yeah, I will be happy to mention it. Yeah.
So your little intro. So Betsy is a mom of 4, 3 girls and a little boy, and you live on the east coast of Florida, and you have your Instagram is The Gut Coach.
The Gut Coach, yes.
And so you coach on the gut and many other health-related things, life-related things. You also homeschool your kids. And you have a program coming out this year on blood sugar and how it just helps your health in so many ways. So enough of the intro. I want you to maybe just start by telling me a little bit about yourself, and then maybe what really led you to where you are now, like sharing how you got there, sharing your journey.
Well, I wasn't going to start way back, but I might as well, because me and Anna, we met in middle school band. So started with music. I always knew I wanted to be like a high school band teacher was what I wanted to be. I know I wanted to teach high school band. I majored in music, and I was just so passionate about music. And that's where I met my husband. We met in a band. I played the keys and he played the bass, and we were really young now that I look back. I think I was 22 when he proposed, and he was 19. So we were babies. I always knew that I wanted to be a mom. I had my sister ask me one time, like, what do you want to do besides being a mom? And I was like, well, music, that's what I want to do. But I always knew I wanted to have kids. I came from a family of 4. My mom had a big family. She was one of 6, and my dad was one of 5. And I have a lot of cousins. So I always wanted to have a big family. And I was so blessed too, because my husband had a big family. He was one of 4, and then they adopted 2 more. So now one of 6. And we love having that type of big family. So I always knew I myself wanted to have kids. And I got pregnant. We're at 24. I had my first baby. I have nieces that are 24 now, and I'm like, wow, I was a mother then. I turned 40 this last year. So it has been, my motherhood journey has been, looking back 16 years, it's been quite a time investment.
To say the least.
To say the least. So when I got pregnant, I kind of put all my stuff on hold of wanting to be like a high school band teacher or even like a professional touring musician. I had always like these big dreams that I wanted to do it, and I had the talent to do it, but the call of being a mother was just so strong. And I wanted to be home with her too. So when she was a toddler, she was 2 and just very busy. I knew that homeschooling would be the best option for her to learn. My husband was homeschooled. Some of my siblings were homeschooled, so I was familiar with it. I knew that the type of learner she was would be really good for homeschooling. So we knew that I might not get into like a professional career, and I had to be okay with that. And I've had to look back and be like, I made the best decision with the choices that were in front of me. So I went on to have another baby. And then my third baby, that's really where it intersected with where I am today and where I was then, because I got sick. I got really sick when I was pregnant with her. This was a decade ago, so 10 years ago. I was battling some severe gut issues, some chronic autoimmune issues, and that's really where I found my passion for holistic health. I was already kind of getting, into the organic movement, switching over my breads and having organic milk, and we were gardening and things like that. But it wasn't until I got sick that I really saw the importance of taking care of your body, of treating your body like a temple. And that is kind of my foundation for how I approach health and my health and wellness business, because through my healing, I found my passion to help other mothers avoid chronic illness. And we're just faced with such a huge epidemic of chronic illness, especially with women in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, more than we were for our parents' generation. So I'm just so passionate about this. And that's kind of how I've found myself building a business alongside toddlers, which was not what I expected, because I never thought I would be an entrepreneur. But I love the freedom that it's brought me, and pursuing my passion has been um, just such a good time investment. It's been so fulfilling for me.
What are you seeing as you work with your clients that people are struggling with the most, or these moms, say like approaching 40, since that's our age range now,
Right,
that
right.
are struggling with the most? Everything you say, I'm like, yeah, like try to avoid the afternoon coffee. I'm like, wait, what? No, it's right here. I don't want to avoid it. I like it.
Yeah, yeah. So, gosh, this is such a hard one, because I sometimes see women with chronic autoimmune issues. They have burnout, they have blood sugar dysregulation or prediabetes. Um, they're facing some really big health challenges while they're trying to mother. And that's such a challenge, because how can you care for others when you're not able to care for yourself? That's where I found myself. My husband was caring for me. My mom was caring for me when we had 3 little girls. And that was just such a hard time when I look back. My passion is to help other mothers avoid that situation, the cascade that happens when you develop one issue and then another. But yeah, they're facing a lot of really big health issues.
So like to be sick is generational, but to be well is generational
I love
too.
that. I
It's
love that.
just, ugh.
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of, well, before we move on, how do you work with your clients? So just so we put it out there, you have a one-on-one option to work with your
I
clients?
do. I do have a one-on-one option. We do a 6-week or 12-week package. And then I'm building an online program that should be out a little later this year. It's going to be a 12-week program walking you through all the foundational habits that you need to develop to have regulated blood sugar, basically to feel well, to not crash in the evenings and the afternoons, or to need that second cup of coffee. It's one thing to want it, but it's another thing to not be able to function without 2 or 3 cups of coffee, where you don't have enough to pour into your family or your community. Like, I'm all for healing the mother, because when the mother is healed, she can help pour into her family. She can support her husband well. She can help nourish her kids, and she feels great, and she can show up in the morning without snapping at her kids. And, if she needs to take them to school, she's able to, or she's able to cook nourishing meals and she doesn't feel drained, where she's not, caring for herself too.
I love that. And there were years, and it was close to like 7 or 8 years ago, where I could not function. Like I would crash in the afternoons, could not. It wasn't even an option to not take a nap. And then I would still need the coffee or the Celsius or whatever it was. So I know that feeling all too well. And I think mine was a result of a car accident, which vitamin C and cat's claw helped me a ton. and
It's
lots of
nice.
chiropractic care. But
Yeah.
I know the feeling, and it's horrible, and you can't show up, and you're trying to do all these things, and
Right.
it doesn't work. But you kind of answered this question. Maybe you can expand on it a little bit. But it's how do you define success in motherhood?
So
And then
I,
separate question in business as well. But like you kind of just talked about it, how you want to be able to show up and make dinner for your kids or just feel well and homeschool them for the day. Like
yeah, that would be success. So the way I show up in both, like I measure it, how present I am in both areas, the impact I make in my family, but also in my business. Is my family feeling supported? Are they grounded in their faith? Is there peace in our home? And
that's a
am,
good
am
one.
I walking closely with the Lord? And are they walking closely with the Lord? Then, am I showing up to the best of my ability for my clients? Are my clients feeling supported? Is my business aligned with God's purpose still? Is this still what He wants me to do, who He wants me to help? These have always mattered more to me than metrics, than numbers. These are like my signposts that things are working well together. And, there's always going to be different seasons, especially as families change. They never stay. You never stay in toddlerhood or little kidhood. I'm finding myself, I've got two teens now. They need a lot of emotional support more than they need reprimanding or redirecting as a toddler. Now I'm spending like my nights, I'm up at 10:30 because they want to chat. And I'm
Like,
losing
can I go
sleep
to
now
bed
because
now?
of that. I literally was like, I need to turn off the light. Like I'm tired.
So how old's your youngest?
He is 8. My littlest boy is 8.
8 to 16?
8 to 16.
Okay,
Yes.
so and it changes, and that's something I want to kind of bring out of you a little bit more. It changes, and between boys and girls, it changes. Your success, you're redefining your success changes between the ages, between the different children. Like some children, my successful day is like not screaming at them, and the other one might be like encouraging her
Yeah.
or something along those lines. So it looks different between each child and each season that child is in. I remember my mom when I first had my oldest, one of the things she said is, don't get used to whatever she's doing right now. It's going to change in a week or two. And
That
it's
couldn't be
so
more
true. It's
true.
still happening.
Yes, it's so
Everything's still
true.
changing.
When I finally feel like I've got things wrapped up and we've got a good schedule, things change, or somebody hits a new milestone, or somebody wants to do something new and our schedules shift, or just my approach to them, or their moods and their hormones change. It's like, what is happening?
And it's actually you who coined this term for me, how you don't do balance, but you do rhythms, or you don't do schedules, but you do rhythms. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
So I have never been one. Like I'm not a type A person. I'm not a type A mom. So it actually has to work for me that way because I'm not naturally inclined to be a schedule keeper. And that has just been really good for our family because I feel like my kids are a little bit calmer. Um, they're a little bit more grounded in what to expect rather than I can't do like, we must wake up at this time. We must do school at this time. They know things are flexible and, it kind of makes for a better home life because life doesn't work that way. I mean, things shift and things change, and I want to make them adaptable. So they're definitely more adaptable because of that. But I myself, as a mother, need that just to shift with the changing seasons. Maybe we'll have a set rhythm for a certain amount of time, like a 9 week or, 2 semesters based on our school, or maybe I'll pull back one of the semesters because I know I've got a lot that I'm doing in my business. Maybe I'm taking more clients on. So I'll expect them to be a little bit more self-directed, self-guided with me helping implement strategies and systems for them. So I like systems rather than a really strict schedule.
Yeah, I like that. And for me, it's like I have my list that I want to get done. And some of the important things I'll do that day and I'll try to schedule it. But some days I'll wake up and be like, no, I'm going to work out at home this morning and at 6 a.m. instead of going into the gym at 9:30. So even if I put it in my schedule, it's going to switch around. It's still like accomplishing the same things, but it's kind of backwards a little bit. And I've learned to have to be okay with it being a little different. I'm like, it's okay. Betsy does rhythms. It's
So
fine.
agree. Yeah, no. And I think it's important as a business owner, as a mother, to not compare yourself to other women. Um, because I make it a point to not be like, oh, look at this woman, look at her business, look how successful she is, or look at this homeschool mom, look at their beautiful rhythm, their homeschool mornings, like, look how beautiful and calm
They're
it
all
is. Like,
sitting and listening to
you
a
know.
story. I'm like, if I have to read out loud to these children, I'm not going to make it through life.
I think it's okay to like not compare yourself because comparison really is the thief of joy. Like, so I put my blinders on. I know that this is my calling in my family. My children are my calling. Being a good and present wife is my calling, but also, showing up in my business and having a purpose and my passion, that's also my calling too. So making them all go together, really is how I define success.
I love that. Do you have a Bible verse or some sort of principle that has been a guiding force throughout all of this, through homeschooling and your business and motherhood?
I do. I really like Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters.
Mm.
I love applying that because that verse can be applied to anything that you're doing. Um, because we know we need the Lord to do all things. He strengthens us, but also our own capabilities. What we're doing is basically like a sacrifice to Him. It is our worship. So me doing the dishes, me doing the laundry, the unglamorous things in motherhood, are my worship for Him. Or, answering a text at 2 a.m. to a client or showing up and squeezing her in for an extra session that week. That is me showing up to the best of my ability, showing up in excellence for the Lord.
I love that. And really, I think it goes back to you showing up with your gifts that other people don't have these gifts. That's why they come to you so that they can then in turn show up for in their best in their gifts. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
Yes. Because, like, when the mothers are healed, she shows up for her family, but also she can pour out to her community. She can make a meal for her friend who just had a baby, or she can serve at church, or she can start a non for profit. Like, there's a lot of ripple effects that happen after that, too.
It's so true. What's been one of your biggest challenges that you've had with 4 kids and homeschooling and running a business? And I keep using all of this interchangeably because it really is not, I'm not ever trying to lessen homeschooling or having a business or being a mom, but with Betsy, they all kind of go together. If you hear me ask a question and you want to pick it apart and answer it for one thing, please do.
I wrote it, so I didn't forget. But I know it has to do with time and guilt. So the time spent on my business and the guilt that I carry being away from my kids or from my husband or from my home. Like if I need to leave the house and go see a client or for an event or go do something, or time spent on my computer. No, I can't help you with that right now. I need to get this work done. There's a timeline for it. So I do carry some guilt with that. But I also know that I'm showing my kids what it means to pursue something that they're passionate about, something that they feel called to, and I hope it inspires them to show up in their own lives and know that they can be both a mother and have something that they're passionate about. Whether they monetize that or not, it can be serving somewhere for volunteer opportunities. It doesn't always have to be tied to a business, but they can if they want. And I really that's my goal, is to inspire each of my kids to have something that they're passionate about, that they can take and monetize if they want. They can be their own business if they want, but also they can be content with if they just want to be a mom, especially my girls. If that's what they want to do, that's where they feel called. That's awesome too. But I want them to each have a special skill that they're really passionate about. So the time that I spend away from them is, I will always have that guilt, but I feel like that's kind of normal.
Yeah. Well, you're also, I want to just point out that you have an author for a daughter and a singer for another daughter.
Oh,
So you're already seeing the fruit of that in what you're doing and how you're showing up for them, and then
yes.
encouraging them in their own interests and passions. So
Yeah.
I think that's really cool and
Thank
something
you.
worth noting.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's important for them to find what they're passionate about. Um, Because as a mom, I think it's important not to forget who you were before you had kids. That can be so easy to get lost in motherhood. And I think I really struggled with that for the first 2 years until I found like I sold on Etsy. Like I started making like handmade soaps and handmade clothes. And that's like, it was my thing. It was the thing that I did. I didn't do it for anybody else but me, because I really enjoyed it. So I think it's really important not to lose the things that you're passionate about or find something new that you're passionate about in motherhood. And that might shift and look different, but something outside of just what you do for your family, something for yourself.
Yeah, I love that. And maybe that kind of goes into the next question is what's a mistake you've made along the way that turned into a lesson? And I love that part of that maybe for you would be I kind of lost myself and I had to figure out something that I was passionate about.
Yeah. Um, I if I had known earlier, the impact that being online and impacting people online was going to be as big as it is, I probably would have jumped on sooner, like online course creation or connecting with people that weren't in my local vicinity. I probably would have done that sooner. Um, but the shifts through motherhood, it's like with losing myself, I don't know how I would have told myself, like, hey, don't let yourself um, don't let yourself become lost in motherhood. It's something that you have to do because it's almost like when a baby is born, a mother is born too. And I feel like that happens with each baby too. You become somebody a little bit newer, a little bit different with each new baby because you're adding a life to your family, to your heart. And I don't know how that wouldn't transform you, but it does. But it's not letting yourself get lost early on would be really important.
Yeah, and then giving yourself the grace with the addition of each new child. You're running an online business, you're homeschooling, but you don't have a baby on a Friday night and then go back to homeschooling Monday morning.
Oh no. Oh no.
What does that look like for your rhythms when you brought home new babies, just for our young homeschooling mamas that want to
I
do this?
I would take a break and kind of not necessarily unschool, but just encourage them to read, or I'd read to them a lot slower, a lot less pressure on bookwork and checklists and schedules. I read probably when my third daughter was about 2, I read Teaching from Rest, and it was so
Mm.
transformative to my approach to homeschooling of just encouraging them to just still love to learn, but not be so focused on the metrics of homeschool, of getting everything done, of checking off all the checklists. And I can say with certainty that it has been a success now that I have a sophomore. I know that through 3 more births after her and life transitions and moves, like it's been okay. Everything has come out in the wash. She's learned everything she needed to learn. Like, your oldest is kind of your experiment. So I know that the way that we approached homeschooling and life, and even through things that we wouldn't have, foreseen, we had some external family deaths, like extended family deaths. And through all of those seasons, it's really important to be okay with the ebbs and flows of homeschooling, to be okay with, well, we didn't do any seat work today, but we did listen to a bunch of books. We went outside and identified some plants and some insects or whatever. Like, be okay with um, learning outside of the box while you have young babies.
Yeah, absolutely. And then how have you found you've moved a few times.
We
Like
have
you're
moved,
not just how you don't just live in South Florida your
right?
whole adult life. You kept moving and you had young babies. Is there any what did you do to stay in a community or did you as you were moving around?
I feel like a community was really important. So we moved out to Arizona. My husband was a wildland firefighter, so he was away for 2 weeks at a time. So it was just me, pregnant with my fourth, still sick with 3 little girls. So I went on our local like Facebook group. It wasn't a very big town, and I was like, "Hey, are there any homeschoolers here? Like, I need to meet them." And they were there. So we met up with them. We tried to do it regularly. We were just there for 6 months, so we tried to do it. Um, and just have that community. The community has been everything for me. When we moved also after that to Colorado, I found the same. The homeschool movement, I'm so grateful that there are so many people to support, because it's not just about schooling at home, it's the extension of motherhood. It's about, learning at home with your children. And I found a great one here now that we moved back to the Treasure Coast. We've been in a co-op for 5 years, and just doing life with the people that are close to you who are have the same goals that you do is really invaluable. Just the encouragement to be like, you look to the side during class time and you're like, okay, it's not just me. It's not just me that feels this way. It's not just me that, I don't know what I'm going to do for high school. Will I raise, a smart enough person to go to college,
Will
because
they
I feel
want to go
like,
to college?
I know, will they want to do that?
Will
I
I
feel like,
want them to go to
exactly.
college?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like there's a lot on your shoulders as a mom, plus a homeschool mom, just to be able to know that you're meeting all of their academic needs too, not just their emotional, spiritual, physical needs.
Yeah. And I think just to bring that out a little bit more, having just moved to the Melbourne area from Jupiter, after where I'm from, so I've been there basically most of my life. And we were at this sweet school where I knew all the parents, so therefore we knew the kids, we knew a lot of the teachers, just from life, from growing up and being from the area. And then we moved to this new area, and I'm like, sweet, I found a school. It's full time versus the 3 day a week, like homeschool school that we were at before. And I thought this school was going to be great. And it's been great for me. I've gotten a lot done. But level of the barrier of entry was easier for this school, if that makes sense, because the parents aren't as invested in the kids' education. So the type of people that are there are just so different than the type of people that I went to school with at our last school in South Florida. And I just wanted to kind of bring that out, that it just feels really important as it's that time of year to reevaluate what we're doing for school for next year, that homeschool communities can, even co-op communities or 3 day a week school communities, there's a level of parental involvement that is required. And you have to want to do that to be involved. So just the type of people that you meet are just so different than with a public school or with even with a private school. So I just wanted to bring that up and stress it a little bit more.
Definitely agree. A good community of people that you see eye to eye or like minds is just really important.
Yeah. So let's see. Well, I guess before I keep asking you the final questions, because this is kind of going along the line of challenges, we talked briefly about your oldest dealing with some issues. Tell me about that and how you've been helping her, and maybe how it's impacted how you're showing up in your own business for your own clients.
Yeah. So in June of this year, my daughter started to have symptoms that were really concerning. So we took her to our doctor. I have a really great doctor that I love, which I think is really important. And we were in labs and did all this sort of stuff. And she was diagnosed with Crohn's, which was just,
With
it
Crohn's.
floored me. I am a gut coach. I know all there is to know about the gut. I preach gut health, but also,
And it's not like she's eating junk, like she's
oh my
eating what
gosh,
you're
she
eating.
eats great
Like,
food. Like I source great food. I cook all 3 meals from home. But it's helped me realize that showing up for my clients, that it's more than just food. There's a lot of other things that play, which I already knew that. But then also there are some things outside of our control. So I like to stress what's inside of our control, that the things that we can control, that we make a positive impact on. And also to know that sometimes health struggles are part of God's plan for us, is part of our story, is part of our testimony. So I still don't know why she struggles. I still don't know why she was sick. And she's still sick. We actually had to start her on medication, which I said, never would I ever start her on medication. And yeah, here I am, because she had to have that kind of help to feel better, to continue with her school, just
function, I'm
to
sure.
function,
It's like
to
when I get a headache, I'm like, this is not going to go away. I know I'll do all the things. And then I'm like, you know what? If I just take a couple of Advil right now, it's going to go away. And then I won't have to take it for another 30 days.
yeah.
So sometimes it's just the answer is both what you're doing and medical, which is to kind of just push that point a little bit on this podcast. You're going to find people like Betsy who we grew up in a way where we probably had a lot of, like, your mom is a nurse. My husband's mom is a nurse. They were like jabbed with all the things and did all the medications. Anytime they were sick, there was antibiotics. And then we grew up and we're like, wait, no, I think we can try to do this in a little bit of a different way. But that doesn't mean that we're not open to using both just natural health and medications that are so life-saving. So
Right.
I just appreciate you bringing that up, that
Yeah.
you're doing that for your daughter. I think
It's
that's
made me realize there's a lot more nuance in everybody's personal health history and their current situation. It's more than just, well, this fix is for everybody. It really doesn't apply to every single person. So, approaching people with the bio individuality is really important, and knowing of their specific situation. So, yeah, I do have a more respect for the fact that we can't control everything, and that sometimes I would just have to be on my knees and praying for her. And that's where I
yeah.
was. Like, I probably wouldn't be able to talk about this without crying 3 months ago, but it's a better month. So, I can share a little bit deeper with that. But that is part of also my own personal faith journey of just being, knowing that my kids are in God's hands, that they're His, they're not mine, and that I'm just a steward for them, for their, for everything. I'm just their steward.
Oh, that's beautiful. And you are. And it's so much pressure. So
It is. I can't do it alone. I'm so thankful
no,
for
that's
God.
where that strength that he provides comes from.
Yes.
You're like, wait, hold on, I'm supposed to be strong. But wait, it doesn't actually come from me. So
Yeah. When I'm weak, He's strong. So, yep.
um okay, so we can start doing some wrap-up questions.
Okay.
Betsy and I both have a passion for getting enough protein in our day. It fuels us. It's what keeps me going during my workouts. Needless to say, though, it is so tough to sometimes get enough protein. So while we love to have our basics, our staples in our house, our sources of protein, our beef, our chicken, all the things, sometimes it's nice to have the sides or the sauces or the little itty bitty chocolate treat that goes with it. And this is where I love Thrive Market. I can buy some of the sauces I love are the Primal Kitchen brand. I love the Hue chocolate brand. I am obsessed with just getting the organic chocolates from there, which can sometimes be seasonal in Florida, just FYI. Also, Thrive Market has an option to buy meat and seafood on their website. And the coolest thing is I have 40% off for you linked in the show notes. So if you are on YouTube or on social while you're watching this, comment, let me know what you like to get from there. I always like a good tip. Oh, and another thing, I love the pasta that I can get from there, the gluten-free pasta. There's just so many things on Thrive Market that I love to buy and not necessarily go to the grocery store for, and prices are similar. So I think that's pretty cool. So 40% off, link in the show notes. So we can start doing some wrap-up questions. You have an online business, you take on clients, you're building an online course, and you homeschool, and you have 4 kids, and a marriage that's beautiful, and you volunteer at church, all the things. What advice would you give to a mom who feels called to start a business or homeschool? Or even just becoming a mom, but struggles with that fear or doubt?
One of the best pieces of advice that my mom gave me was the time is going to pass anyway. So why not? So I found that, it's okay to make mistakes or feel like you're going to fail. Sometimes you will, sometimes you may. And to really block out those negative thoughts, because if it's something that you feel like is put on your heart, especially by God, then I feel like that's your calling, whether it's to homeschool, whether it's to have your own business, whether it's just to start your own family. There will always be naysayers, whether they are a stranger on the internet or somebody pretty close to you. But I really feel like if it's your calling and your passion, then do it, and do it scared, and do it afraid, and don't be afraid to jump in, because I see it all the time. There are people with less knowledge than somebody else who are more successful because they're not afraid to fail. I feel like it's okay to fail. It's okay to pivot. It's okay to change. Because that means you're actually in the ring. You're actually doing the thing. You're actually, taking advantage of the life that we've been given, because we only get one life. We only get one body, which is, one of the things that I teach with my clients, is to really care for the health that they have, but also the opportunity that they've been given for good health. Like, if you have the opportunity, take it. What's the worst that could happen? You fail? Okay, then you try again, or try something different.
Absolutely. I just posted my first episode today, but I think one of the things I said was just do it scared.
Yeah.
You just have to just take a step and just do something.
Yeah. I feel like everything can kind of be scary, and it should be a little scary. That means you're challenging yourself. And that's a good thing, because that's where the growth happens.
I mean, even like pressing record on this episode, I'm like, am I pressing the right button?
I know. Even getting ready, I'm like, why am I nervous? But I feel like every time, like, that is just what it is. And that you just have to move past that. Because, like, it goes back to performing. You said my daughter, she sings. Like, that's what I've been teaching her, because I've performed a lot too. And I never got over the nerves. You do it anyway. And
how many classes, like essential oil classes, have we co-taught or events? And there's always nerves, but you just kind of get up and you're like, and you know what? I was talking with someone at doTERRA convention one year, and she kind of gets in like a Captain Morgan pose, and she's like, I'm a professional. I know what I'm talking about. She was talking about how she was so like nervous as this super successful, gorgeous, fit woman, mom, how she was nervous to go talk to this company who wanted her to come in and talk to them. And she's like, I'm a professional. I know what I'm doing. So she had to really like talk herself up into showing up in the way that she knew she was capable of doing it. So a little, I know.
You do need your own little pep talk too. And then like a pep team, like people that like cheer you along. So like your own little hype team to like crowd out any of your own negative thoughts, because I think it will be your own negative thoughts that will bring you down the fastest.
I know. Even like my little message yesterday to you, I'm like, is it okay? Like the little CBD drink I was drinking? Yeah. I'm like, is this okay? I'm excited I found this. And you're like, yeah, yay. So if you could go back and encourage your younger self when you were just starting out, or maybe in the midst of all your own gut health issues, what would you say?
I would probably say the same thing. I'd say to start earlier. Somebody will always have an issue with what you're doing. I think maybe I have second guessed myself. And to know that, if you feel like you're called, God will equip you. I probably would have told myself that earlier, just to jump in, just to start scared, run toward it with abandon.
I love it. All right. Anything else to add, or any final thoughts?
We covered a lot.
I know we did, and that was faster than mine. I think it was because Patrick was with me, and he kept going and asking me other questions. So where can people find you?
You can find me I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram as the Gut Coach and then _. I'm mostly there. I really like Instagram. That's my favorite place to be. I feel like it's a good place to build community. I'm usually always on stories, sharing content, but yeah, that's really where
you always share really good content on there that makes me really think about what I'm doing. Like, what am I eating 30 grams of protein at my breakfast?
I know. I can't, because I can't be a hypocrite. I have to do the same thing, because like I can't stay up late, create content when I'm telling you to go to bed, or I can't skip my breakfast. So it's almost like my own accountability too, but it's an encouragement that like, hey, I do the same things for me. I know the challenge is it's hard to like make sure you're eating when you're stressed or when you're busy, but like these are the things that are important. The day-to-day things are really what builds that health.
Yeah. And sometimes you look on Instagram and you see people and you just feel bad about it after, like, yeah, I got to remember to do 30 grams of protein. But the way you do it, you're like, oh yeah, next time I eat, I'll remember to do 30 grams of protein. Betsy posted a great meal. So it's never condemning or negative the way you post. So I just want to point that out too, because there can be a lot of like negative influencers out there, and you're
Thank
just
you.
not one of them.
I
So
I appreciate it.
go follow Betsy.
That's the way I want to come across, because if it's not easy to understand and easy to do in your life, like, it needs to be doable for it to actually be attainable. Because, I can't have these peaceful morning routines. Like, every morning is different. I have 4 kids. Like, I can't control what they do. Sometimes they wake up in a bad mood or starving or, like, sleepy, not ready to conquer the day, so my mornings ebb and flow with them too. So, like, the way I share my life and my encouragement needs to be realistic and doable too.
Yeah, 100%. Yesterday morning, 5:30 in the morning, Corbin's awake, and we had to transition her crib because she started climbing out. So now she's in a bed, which is horrible for a 2.5-year-old, because they just want to be in my bed, which she's never wanted to be in my bed before. Now all of a sudden she's in my bed. So yesterday morning we watched Frozen for an hour and a half before we went to school. So
that works.
my morning.
That's
I'm like,
exactly.
but I'm normally like a no TV before like noon type of mom. And I'm like, just turn it on. I need to have my coffee and just wake up. So ebb and
It makes
flow.
her better, happier. Yep.
So thank you for being on here. I'll post your Instagram and your Facebook in the show notes, and then stay tuned follow her so that you know when her course is coming out later this year. She will let you know. And I just appreciate you. Thanks for being wonderful.
Thanks for having me on. This was a good conversation. Most of the time I'm talking about only health. So to talk about just motherhood and what it looks like to have a business is just really just encouraging for me too. So I'm looking forward to hear more of your guests too.
Thanks. Hey friend, if you're trying to build a life that honors your faith, supports your family, and keeps you well in the process, I've got something just for you. My free guide, Purpose Driven Wellness, is packed with simple, natural ways to support your energy, focus, emotional well-being, and even your productivity using essential oils and rhythms that actually work in real mom life. Whether you're running a business, homeschooling your kids, or just trying to stay grounded in a busy season, this is an awesome starting point. Grab your free copy at the link in the show notes and start creating wellness that aligns with your purpose. I hope you guys love Betsy as much as I do. She can just be the epitome of such a good friend. She is a great mom. She is passionate about homeschooling, and she's passionate about helping moms like us feel better in their lives and in their wellness. And she gives you the tools to do so too. So definitely go check her out on Instagram, give her a follow, send her some love, tell her that you like the episode. And if you think to do it, share this episode with a friend. Just hit that little share button, pass it along. I appreciate you being here, and I'll catch you for the next episode.